Hey everybody, Tim Veigle here with Watson Realty. Now in this video, I'm going to go ahead and explain the different addendums that when you're purchasing a home, you might encounter in your offer. So that way you know about them ahead of time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask when we are submitting your offer. But hope this helps. Let me share my screen here. So first off, one thing when you're submitting offers, you might see this property seller disclosure. And this is just disclosing everything the seller has for you, the buyer. First part talks about the appliances, WDO, water intrusion, plumbing, which it'll disclose to us if it has polybutylene piping, which is something that a lot of insurance companies don't like. The age of the roof is on here. Any issues on the pool, sinkholes, HOA stuff, environmental, governmental claims or litigations that might be involved if there's for investment involved. But this is important to look at because it's going to disclose to you what is going on with the property. Now, the next one, if you're purchasing a condo, this one right here is the condo rider. It's basically a disclosure of the condo that you are required to get. It talks about, is the association approval required? Is there a right of first refusal? So to where they can decline you, what the assessments are and how often they're paid. And it breaks down if there's any special assessments, operations that'll happen on the property. Sprinkler system reports, non-developer disclosure. So it talks about what type of developments can be done in here. Buyer request for documents. So this one, we're always going to request for documents. We want you to see them, especially on condos. And then it is one we'll come back to with buyer receipts of documents. Common elements. So is there a parking spot? Inspections and repairs. Of course, governance forms. But that's just kind of the catch-all for what's disclosed if you're purchasing a condo. You won't see this if it's not considered a condo. Next one is defective drywall. This is an addendum that sometimes we'll put in there. This does not mean that the property has defective drywall. This just allows us the ability to inspect for drywall, specifically Chinese drywall, and make sure that there's none on the property when we do our inspection. If there is, it includes the cost to cure the issue of the Chinese drywall, paid for by the seller. This one right here is only if you're an FHA or VA buyer. This is the FHA VA buyer, and sometimes your lender might require a different one when they're doing your loan documents. So it talks about inspections and appraisals. So, and then you check this if it's FHA, and then it kind of breaks down that the property has to appraise for the value. If you're not aware of it, appraisal on FHA sticks with the FHA property. I think the time frame is like 4 months. So if the deal doesn't work out as an FHA buyer, property's still there for 4 months. Any fees or prepayments that is paid by the seller up to a certain amount. It goes over appraisal repairs because sometimes FHA requires that. Now down here at the bottom, it's VA. So with the VA one, again, same thing going with the appraisal, kind of outlines that for appraisal repairs, what needs to be done to proceed with the contract, as well as any fees. Next up, this is the HOA disclosure. So kind of similar to condo, but the difference is it's for HOAs, homeowners association. It'll explain the fee and talk about anything that could happen with your HOA. If there's an approval process, any type of fees to transfer, any other association charges that we have, they're disclosing. And then the contact person, email and phone number for the HOA and the website. This only happens on properties older than 1978. And it's basically a lead paste paint disclosure. So the seller's going to disclose what they know. provide documents they might have. FYI, this is from 40 years ago. Most people in the home don't have any documents. And all it's stating is there could be lead-based paint on the property because back in the day, that was normal in those paints. But since then, with the amount of paint going over them, chances are everyone's fine, but we got to disclose it to let you know of the health risk and hazard. And you have the opportunity that if you wanted to, you could do testing for lead-based paint. Now, this is if you're submitting an offer, but you have to sell your home first. So this is disclosing to the seller that you have to sell your home and if it's under contract or not under contract. And then we have to supply a copy of the contract to the listing agent so that they can review as well. This is one of those things where we'll talk about strategy sessions if we need to do this or not. But if you have to sell your home before you close and you don't include this, you could lose your escrow. This is here to protect your escrow. So you don't have to disclose this, but if you don't disclose this, and this is the reason why you can't buy this house, your escrow is at loss because it wasn't disclosed. So it's important to put this on here or else you're taking a big risk. Now, the next two are basically escalation addendums. They're two different ones. One's a little more detailed than the other, but you might see either or. This one here is an escalation addendum. And basically what it is because in this day and age, every property is getting multiple offers. So we have to do something to protect our buyers and be competitive. This is one of the ways we do it. So you put down the information, what type of contract it is, and then this part here is what you agree to. Buyer agrees that purchase price shall be increased by, so like say for example, if the property is 200,000 and you're willing to go up to 225, you might say, I'm willing to increase the property by $5,000 up to 225. So, and that's all that's stating. Now for that to work, the listing agent has to supply a copy of the contract showing that. So at closing, buyers shall pay cash to cover applicable escalation amount, and buyer's proof of funds is attached. So this is if you're just going to cover it with cash, but it could be you're covering it in the financing part too. It's just stating down the agreement, and then down here, parties acknowledge that this is voluntary and intended to increase the competitiveness of the buyer's offer to the seller. Rules buyer's offer highest and best, which is not usually nor necessarily in buyer's best interest. Allows seller to share buyer's offer with potential competing buyers. Requires buyer to consider whether property is worth the revised purchase price and or maximum purchase price. Requires seller to consider how buyer intends to pay any escalation amount. So this is just simple agreements, making sure everyone's on the same page. And then the other one is another one, which is pretty much the exact same thing, just less detailed. But you could see one or both of these out there, so it's kind of important. Should there be any other competitive offer submitted? The same thing, how much you're going to pay over and what's the maximum purchase price. So, but these are just a couple of the most common addendums that you will be seeing and doing when you're submitting your offer to your seller as the buyer. There could be others on there, and you know, your agent, whether it's me or someone else, we're going to talk these through because there could be questions and you might need some more clarification on what each one means. So, but this is just to give you a good overview. And if you do have any questions on it, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm always here for you. Thank you all.